This is the Schwantz27 asking, AFK farmers in gun game, how is this still a thing? Gun game was introduced in the original Call of Duty Black Ops, and it's been in every Call of Duty game in some format ever since, but it wasn't until the third installment of the Black Ops sub-franchise that gun game had a serious problem with dead lobbies due to massive amounts of players leaving their consoles or PCs on and just stepping away from the controller or keyboard. The reason for it is simple. Black Ops 3 was the first game that rewarded players for completing matches with crypto keys, the in-game currency to purchase supply drops. Since Call of Duty players always try to find the most cheese and scummy ways to get ahead in life, see one-man army, danger close, noob tube, modded controllers, best class setup ever videos, etc., it comes as no surprise that some queef stains figured out that since you don't actually have to push a button to pick a class in gun game because you spawn right in and then the game just starts, you could join a lobby of gun game and sit in that lobby for hours on end without actually having to be there to earn a plethora of crypto keys in order to buy supply drops, KD be damned. As much as I enjoy sticking it to the man, since loot boxes are the cancer of gaming, actually trying to play gun game is more boring than watching a Game of Thrones episode without any fighting or fucking. Treyarch eventually put a patch in the game that would kick players that were idle after a brief timer. However, gamers in their quest for the minimal effort path to getting the shit that they actually want figured out that if you put rubber bands on your sticks or put your controller upside down to force constant movement, you'd get around this idle kick mechanic, probably after watching that Angry Video Game Nerd episode on the Terminator.
Get yourself a wrench or something like this here, and you just clamp it down on the A button, just like that, and there you go. Just sit back and you don't gotta do a damn thing. Make me have to put a wrench on a controller? Is that what you want to do with your life? That's senseless.
Treyarch then reduced the key rate in the game mode such that it wasn't even worth doing the shenanery for free shit, even if their supply drop model was the worst of all Call of Duty games by locking DLC weapons only in supply drops without other ways of earning them. Infinity Ward followed with Black Ops 3.5, Infinite Warfare, and Gun Game was a mode that was available for a limited time only since there weren't enough people actually playing the game to warrant it being a full-time mode. Instead of the different dev studios, learning from one another, even though that game was the epitome of, okay, you can copy my homework, but just change it a little bit so the teacher doesn't notice, they fell into the same AFK gun game trap by not introducing any of the measures from the previous game when it launched. Since it was a limited time mode, it wasn't that big of a deal until it came back later, but then was patched to kick idle players at the end of a match without giving any keys or XP, which is a giant fuck you to all those scrotum sniffers that tried that same shit. Now onto Call of Duty World War II, which doesn't do the crypto key nonsense from the previous two games in that you get supply drops from game time played instead of at the end of each match. However, in the infinite wisdom of Sledgehammer Games, they decided that for certain contracts, for things to get supply drops or even to get weapons directly, they were based on the number of matches completed. Again, gun game isn't a game mode that's always available, but this very week there have been not only special contracts granting epic supply drops and weapon bribes to people that complete 80 matches, but there's also a weekly contract to complete 25 matches of gun game for a loot crate. And again, since Call of Duty developers don't actually benefit off the lessons learned by other studios, we've got AFK gun game farmers in the current incarnation. This game mode has been introduced over 4 different weeks in Call of Duty World War II now, and there has been no fix or patch to deal with this situation. People don't even have to run in a circle or turn right round baby like a record in order to fulfill their criteria for their contract, so trying to play legit is like going into a wasteland. Maybe Sledgehammer Games should stop putting in new game modes, considering how gun game turned out, along with fucking up the whole demolition thing, having to defuse bombs planted in a specific location instead of using the whole bomb site like every other fucking game has done, and prop hunt with the whistling bullshit along with infinite ammo. So forgive me if I'm not psyched about Dom XL, which should just be the normal domination game mode, along with the community playlist that's now being voted on, which actually isn't a mosh pit of new game modes across all maps like everybody thought, but instead random game mode and map combinations, which of course all of the prop hunt choices are at the top since it's the only mode on the list that isn't playable at all times in the game. Seriously, what the fuck kind of poll is this? How did you guys fuck this up so badly? Anyways, back to our gun game issue. There's already a solution to fix this problem that was introduced way back in Modern Warfare 3, but in a similar game mode, all or nothing. Instead of spawning in the game directly each time, since there was a set loadout for each player, the game forced you to pick the Box of Demons class, named after the YouTuber that created the idea for the custom game mode, such that you can't do the AFK gun game farming scenario because you had to know when to push the button to select the fucking loadout. This is what should have been done with with Gun Game to fix this problem since the very beginning, but apparently the developers aren't smart enough to think of something that's already been thought of as a way around having these boosting bitches in Gun Game lobbies. Yes, I know you could program a macro with a keyboard for PC, but it's much harder on consoles with controllers because you can't just use the wrench trick. If this 3-dev Monty scheme doesn't allow for the different studios to learn from each other and makes Call of Duty just a throwaway game every single fucking year, then it's not a good idea! We go one step forward and 2 steps back every single fucking time a game comes out. All 3 developers have made incarnations of Gun Game with AFK exploits that could have been easily fixed using a method that was in a previous game, but of course, why would they learn from each other's mistakes, even though this is a copy-paste like environment, which is why I'm asking, AFK farmers in Gun Game, how is this still a thing?